What I'm particularly excited about in terms of the conversation around inclusion is how much the small manufacturers and small design firms are pushing this. And quite frankly, the next generation is pushing this. I think there's a lot more responsivity to it than there was in the past. And it's no longer going to be an option. It's going to be a must-have. And I think it's going to come from the bottom up. To me, that's where most exciting change happens.
I don't think any one brand is going to appeal to everyone, because if you do, then you're not really a brand that's worth anything. Growth, right, for any company, particularly for portfolio companies, is how do we acquire the new consumers.
The number of products that are made for the 6-foot man with a finger that's 1.5 centimeters wide, as opposed to the smallest woman's finger could be 0.6 centimeters, as an example. It's absurd how much we expect everybody to use the same products.
I really think it's being thoughtful about the full way that a product is being used and that a product exists in our lives. I think we need to look at its end-to-end existence within our home, but then also the way that it's being used outside of our home. I think that those 2 points are imperative for designers and brands more generally to be thinking of when they're creating new products.
It's imperative that we reduce, to the best of our ability, our biases. As human beings, we are less inclined to do so. And actually, we're very bad at realizing just how many biases we have. So the very first thing is just recognize that we are biased. And we cannot live or design without biases. It is inherent. And then the second thing to do is to actively address it. Actively address it by considering who are you involving, who are you not involving in the design process, who is your product for, who is your product not for, who might be harmed by your product, and being very considerate and expansive in your thinking at the beginning and then throughout the process.
To bring a new product into the world today, I think you need to be making a market improvement on that which already exists. And if you're not going to do that, I think you should question whether you have business making that product.
I think the advice for future leaders, the advice for anyone, is that your consumer doesn't look like you. Leaders that are coming up through organizations today and who think they have a greater touch and connection to the consumers being targeted are not going to have that same connection when they're the future leaders. So I really think there is a constant need for leaders to get outside of themselves and make sure they understand who their consumer is, how those needs, attitudes are changing, and what's the best way to reach them